Hey everybody, Max Monty 1516 here, back again with another Wooden Railway 2022 review. So today we're going to be covering the last of Wave 1, and that is James. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Y'all know how these things go at this point, but I'm going to quickly show the box. So of course, as you can see, there is James, and just as a quick size comparison, there is not much space in the box that's wasted, and I like that. But, of course, as you can see, it opens just like that. There's the front there with a nice picture of James. A couple of logos there. James's name printed in other languages. I don't know what those languages are, I'll be honest. And then on the back, there's a bunch of licensing mumbo-jumbo. And then, FSC logo and another Wooden Railway logo. Yeah, these boxes are, again, really nice. Big fan of them. But, I've looked at these 6 times now. Let's go ahead and move on to James. So now for a more quick, in-depth look at James here. The engine itself, first of all. I think James looks really nice. He's a lot longer than what we've been expecting from the Wooden Railway range for forever, pretty much. But, yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing, really. So looking at James here, the face, I think the face is good. I know a lot of people don't like it. I don't really see why. I mean, I don't think it's the best face in this range. However, I mean, it's nice, I like it. It looks like James. And of course, there is buffer detailing right there, as well as side rod and piston detailing. And the side rods almost perfectly match up with the 3 drive wheels there. I like that a lot. So of course, James has actual splashers. He's got rivets and handrails. One problem I actually haven't pointed out and haven't really realized until now, I don't like how the handrail printing just stops and doesn't go into the smoke box. Yeah, I really wish that Mattel would have done that. That's like one of my only minor gripes, really. But yeah, honestly, again, just like the rest of these items, James is filled to the brim with detail. We got the firebox glow right there. I love that. Handrail on the back there. And of course, James has all of his lining. And yeah, the firebox is very pronounced. I like that as well. That's a nice touch. So yeah, honestly, I believe that this James shares a problem with the original version of the Wooden Railway Henry. I just think the boiler's too small, because James is his boiler is relatively big, and I don't know, I feel like the splashers could be chopped down in width, and then the boiler could be widened out from there. I think that would have made this James look a lot better, and especially looking at the firebox there, I mean, the boiler is just too small, and that's honestly my big problem with this James. It, again, not that bad, but I feel like just making the boiler a bit wider would have made this item a lot better. Now, that's pretty much it for James. Of course, just like the rest of the tender engines, his bogies are plastic, which is not the end of the world, but, And of course, there's James with his codes. And then let's go ahead and take a look at the tender. So this tender, I have mixed feelings on it. I mean, it's all right, honestly. Looking at James there, it does look a little bit tall, like the coal load itself goes over James's cab. Again, I mean, it doesn't really bother me, but I can see why that would bother people. If James's tender was just a little bit longer and a little bit shorter height-wise, again, I think that would have looked a lot better. My personal problem with the James tender is how far apart the wheels are spaced out. The axles are literally right on the edge of the chassis there, and I don't understand why. But yeah. As you can see here, the tender is actually just quite a bit smaller in general. It doesn't have 6 wheels like Gordon's does, and I actually think this is better because I don't have Gordon with me for this video. However, Thomas Tank Merch, they did a really good comparison of Gordon's tender versus James, and I think Gordon's tender is too big for James. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm glad there are different tender sizes, even though it's not completely accurate to the show. So now that the major up-close look is handled, we're going to go ahead and move over to the comparisons. So taking a look at the 2 engines without their tenders, first of all, I think James is the most major difference to the previous model in Wave 1. So looking here, James has a smaller pony truck wheel, and this is something we've never seen in the Wooden Railway range before. James has always had just the 060 configuration, and now it's actually properly accurate. James, I feel like, is a very controversial model in general. Some people do not like the updated length. I think it's okay. I mean, again, it looks a little bit too awkward, and I'm gonna chalk that up to the boiler being too small. I think the boiler on the 2013 James is much more proportionate. As you can see there, yeah. I think if the 2022 model had the boiler proportion, or like the boiler width, that's the word I'm looking for. If the 2022 model had the width of the 2013 boiler, I think it would be a lot better. Nearly perfect. But yeah, I mean, again, like I said, I think that kind of demonstrates my one flaw pretty well. Also, James's dome is much more far forward than the original version. It's actually in between these first two stripes there. So that's pretty interesting. The firebox itself is much more pronounced on the 2022 version, and there's just so much more detail. Like, looking back, I mean, honestly, the wooden railway was always so simple, even in the later years. Yeah, looking at this James. However, I mean, again, I don't have too much else to say about these two models together. I think the 2013 model has the better face in this one, but yeah, I mean, the 2013 face is just really good. So yeah, again, last little side-by-side look there, and we'll quickly move on to the tenders. The tenders have also quite a bit of difference. As you can see here, the 2022 tender is actually a lot smaller, and honestly, I thought that was interesting. It's also taller, however, so yeah, take that as you will. Again, I just think, like, maybe the 2013 tender, if it had the height and length, I mean, I think that looks pretty good, to be honest. Again, my big problem with the 2013 tender is that the curves on the edges are not nearly as pronounced as they should be, and they don't really match up with the lining, and I think that's honestly to a disadvantage. However, I mean, again, the 2013 tender, it looks fatter, I think, because of these curves. So yeah. And again, the 2022 tender does have the handrail and rivets and everything. It just looks really nice. But like I said, the wheels being so far spaced apart on the 2022 model, I think that just looks really distracting. So yeah, I do prefer this. I mean, I think the bigger wheels work in this case. However, if these two wheels could just be moved together slightly, it would be a lot better. So yeah, overall, James, by no means perfect. However, honestly, I would still call this James a good model. Yeah, I recommend it just because of how different it is, mainly. Of course, the detail, color, and face, in my opinion, are spot on. So yeah, if you like James or just like the new wooden railway in general, I'd say go for it. Yeah, James is a good item. That's all I have to say. Thank you all for watching and have a great day. Maxmonty1516 signing out.